If it is too comfortable, if it is too easy, that means you're complacent, and that does not mean you are growing.
I'll have what she's having.
Welcome to another edition of
She Talks Confidence
Podcast.
Welcome back. This is the She Talks Confidence podcast. This is Tony, your host. And today I have a fantastic guest, Melanie Shires. Melanie, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Let's jump right in. You would classify yourself in what population that you work with?
I'm more of an inner authority architect or guide. And the reason why I say that is because I help women who are usually high achieving.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they're corporate people, if they work a nonprofit, if they're at home. So they lead businesses, teams, households, a lot. So they tend to be very performative, meaning I've got to be perfect and things have to be spot on and I've got to make lots of money. And what I do is I help them to pause, step back, and really become aware first and foremost of what it is that is causing this quiet friction, because a lot of them are ripping and running around with my kids, soccer practice, this and that and the other.
Oh, yeah.
Me and my husband are the toast of the town. We're going to all these events. But once all the noise is gone, when she's by herself, there's this quiet friction and she's wondering what's going on. And a lot of times it's just becoming aware that you need to slow down and stop the performance and the proving and the pushing.
Yeah,
It's okay to just be still. It's okay. And it's also okay to give yourself permission to listen to yourself and not have to give that power away externally. We do that in general as humans. If you have an idea and then you go to your friend or your spouse and be like, what do you think?
So essentially it's about, and I see this all the time because I work with women, same as you. And especially with women already in their time of life, in the 35s, 45s, 50s, like midlife type of a thing. I don't call it midlife anymore because I'm 60. I'm not even in midlife, right?
Becoming.
There
right?
you go. Yeah, perfect. Because that's where when you first get out of college or you're on your own and you're out there, it's about survival. It's like Maslow's hierarchy. It's about putting food on the table, taking care of your family, paying your rent. Then it's also about, from an identifier standpoint, it's also about success. And if you're a woman that's in the career market or in the job performance market, that's a big deal. And you have to really buy into the system and try to make your way through that. And then that becomes an identity thing, which leads to, and you talked about it, and I think it's such a huge thing to focus on, is the performative hustle. All of a sudden they wake up and they are successful on paper, but it's doing more or having more, but feeling less. And then there's this cognitive dissonance about, I should be happy because I have this and this, and I am in this C-suite, or I have a amazing family and I'm taking care of them and everybody's good. And yet it's not there. And that is the big problem. That being the case, what's missing?
They've done all the things and they're like, yes, I should be happy. But it's not about that. It's about recognizing that maybe what success looked like no longer fits. And that's what usually happens for both men and women when they get to this stage in life, which is why I like to call it your season of becoming, because you're finally becoming who you always were meant to be. Because when we're young, we're trying to figure stuff. We're hustling and doing the things. As we start maturing in age, that's when we do more self-reflecting, because we are learning everything that we thought when we were younger. Oh, when I make X amount of dollars. Oh, when we move to X place. Oh, when I become X, right? Then I'm going to be happy. And it isn't until you actually walk that road. Like you can tell my kids, I have kids in their 20s, tell them all the time, it doesn't matter. They have to walk that walk. Everybody does.
Yeah, 100%. You have to walk it. You do. Yeah, you can't just say it initially. You have to go through the life experience. Yeah,
because no one's going to understand it. They're like, yeah, that's not me. And so as soon as I make lots of money, I'm going to be happy. It doesn't matter if somebody tells you No, that's not true. I'm telling you because I'm walk this you have to let people walk that walk, and that's
Mhm.
why when we get a certain age, that's why that maturity and wisdom comes with age, because we have actually lived life and we're saying, "You know what? I've ticked all the boxes, but why do I still have this quiet friction? Or why am
Mhm.
I not, quote unquote, satisfied or living joyfully?" Because happiness to me is a feeling, joyful is something different. And so that's where this deeper soul work happens. That's why in workshops that I do, we recognize and become aware of where this friction is coming from. And then from the awareness, then it's the knowing. So now each woman recognize for herself, because everyone's different, of where that friction is coming in, even though it all stems from what I talk about, which is inner authority, which is your trusting your inner knowing. People call it all types of things. It could be your intuition, it could be your soul, whatever. But at the end of the day, every single human being, we have inner authority that a lot of times we give away, and we've been taught to give away since we were little. You do something, you run right to mom and dad. Mom and dad, what do you think about this? Do you like this? We want
Mhm.
acceptance and approval. And it continues on through school. It continues on through corporate America. It continues on. And so it's about really getting back to trusting yourself and
Mhm.
understanding that you are the best authority for you. I'm not
Mhm.
saying you can't get insight or inspiration or guidance from those people who are mentors and people who, again, are older and have been down that path. By all means, we need mentors and we need people
Mhm.
who inspire us. But at the end of the day, no one's going to know what's best for you better than you. So you take the
Mhm.
information, you take the knowledge, you take the guide, you take the suggestions and all that, but you still need to trust yourself that you can make solid decisions for yourself. Because if you don't, you're going to continue to have this friction because you are living based on external factors.
An
You're
external
what other
reinforcement, right?
people say.
And that's a moving target, and that never works because then if you go on like what one person expects, then that's one thing. Another person expects, it's a
Mhm,
totally different thing.
mhm,
Do
yeah.
you find that women have unique issues when it comes to this versus men?
Yes, this is a male dominated world. Let's just be real. And speaking from experience, and again, I work with women who are typically leaders in some type of organization or corporation or even running their own business. And in that world, it's still very male dominated. And so there are a lot of women who are in boardrooms that are dealing with imposter syndrome, even though they are killing it. They're
Mhm.
bringing in millions of dollars. They're coming up with strategies that are changing lives in
Mhm.
corporations and impacting people. They still secretly feel like I have to prove that I belong in this room. I still have to prove that I
Mm.
belong here. What happens is a lot of times boundaries get evaporated. They evaporate because you are high performing. A lot of times you are a superstar. So initially you
Mhm.
are getting the dopamine hit of, hey, I'm coming up on stage at the annual conference because I won the award for. Oh, my
Right.
boss is constantly giving me accolades and every time we have meetings. And I even got a bump up in a raise. And that feels good initially. But what happens over time is that superstar or that woman who is overperforming tends to now have double, triple the work of her peers, male or female. And so all of them have titles, but guess what? Everyone except her gets to lock up or leave early. They
Yeah.
get to go golfing. They can
Mhm.
have long lunches. They get to go home to their families. Over the weekend, they actually get to go to their children's sporting events. Whereas she doesn't because she's juggling multiple multi-million dollar projects.
Yeah.
And so when you ask about is that there's a difference between men and women, the one thing that men are very good at is that they can have more so than not those complicated conversations. But a lot of women look at, oh my gosh, I don't want to cause problems. They are conflict avoidant. Whereas a man, he will say, Bob, I love the fact that you look at me as the closer. And yes, this deal is super important and I have no problem taking it. In fact, I'm going to kill it. But we need to talk about these 4 other projects that I'm currently overseeing. So who should we delegate this to? No problem having a conversation. Or if there's a lot of tasks or things or tasks that go above and beyond the scope of your position. This happens all the time. The scope creep.
Oh, yeah.
This happens not just with companies and clients, but also
Yeah.
with employees. So now you're doing things that really are not part of your job description. But
Mhm.
when you go to a woman in the same position, she just does the work because it's like, you know what? This is what I'm supposed to do. I need
Is
to
it
go above and beyond.
right? Is it because she's gonna feel as though she has to do more than the man to prove herself?
I think it's subtle because again, we're dealing with very high capable people. So it's not an intelligent
Yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah, very
Right.
smart
So
and
that's what I'm
capable,
saying.
yes.
That's what I'm saying, the dissolving, because it's
Mhm.
like the boundary. It is you get caught up in the initial accolades and people are, oh, you're great and we love having you and you're our superstar or you're our employee of the
Yeah,
month. And then the expectation gets shifted. So
yeah.
now what your job description was, the expectation is now you always need to be above and beyond instead
Mhm,
of that was above and beyond. And
mhm.
so again, now, yes, I'm getting the accolades for that, but that's not my barometer. So it's kind of like people that are raising the bar for the superstar. And so the superstar subconsciously feels as though they have to continue at that level. And that's just not sustainable long term. And you will burn
No.
out. Why
Yeah,
people
yeah.
burn out. That's men and women.
Yeah,
So
it's a level of ego push because you have to continue plus the fact that there's a level of insecurity involved in that because they feel as though if they don't continue to do that, then they will be looked immediately down upon based upon whatever project that they're doing at the time. What is that? All of that signals exterior reinforcement. All of that is instead of
ding,
right
ding, 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 ding.
instead of
Ah,
coming back
yes.
in and recalibrating because I'm a big quantum guy, and so I'm always one of coming from within and creating that life and that universe within and then having it go out. But that's a huge shift in a lot of people, and especially with women, because they honestly, even as a man, as a girl dad, I can see
Yeah.
that women have more issues to deal with, more layers to go through to be
Yeah.
able to get to that because of the system that we all live in, which is
Yeah. Yeah.
the manosphere system, right?
Conditioned.
And
Yeah. We've been
condition
conditioned.
especially the conditioning part, which is unbelievable, right? Because it's like voting against your own interest, which now we see that a lot. And you're like, "How can you even do that?" And because they just don't get it because they're bought into that narrative and not their own narrative in terms
Right.
of what and ultimately that's what happens. I see the most amazing, smart, powerful women get to the point of that when they're in their 40s or in their 50s. And then all of a sudden, it's like they have this existential crisis about who am I and what am I doing because nothing works anymore. It's like the dopamine hit is not working
Mhm.
anymore. And so they ramp it up and they ramp it up and then they do 1,000 other things. And what's that? That's burnout. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that being the case, but going from awareness to owning sometimes can be a kind of a tough bridge to cross. How do you get them to sit down and really own that? Because you have to before you move forward.
Oh, absolutely. It's about asking the right questions because at the end of the day, you hit it. It's about really uncovering their true identity
Mhm.
because a lot of them are walking around in that made up identity that they've been forced to live. Again, the performative
Yeah.
person, right?
Performative hustle. Yeah.
Yeah, where it's like, okay, I have to slap on this again, mask. I have to put on the uniform. I am not truly being expressive of who I am and my identity. And I can even speak to this as look at me as a woman of color who is in corporate. So for many years, I could not have my hair looking this way, right?
Mm.
Even though I was in creative fields, because I was an executive as a marketer for many
Yeah, but
years.
they
So but
but
when
they
I was
wouldn't
coming up, here's the thing, when I was coming up, because I'm a lot older than probably I look, but when I was coming up in the 90s, as far as working corporate, like my first big girl job, even though I had a degree in advertising, I ended up working in a wealth management firm in
Mm,
Chicago. So you understand, a big city, a wealth management firm back in the 90s. A lot of people didn't look like me in those places. And then on
mm,
top of that, even though I was a marketer in that world, that whole world had its own, everyone, men and women, had
well,
to dress a certain way, look a certain
mhm,
way, act a certain way.
mm,
And I put on the uniform like everybody else, blue, black, and gray, and that was it. You can't have
mhm.
any colors. And then, yeah, I had long, straight hair. I played the role because, again, I'm like, I am a high achiever. I'm going to make it. I'm going to move my way up, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly, you're doing
And
what it
then
takes to fit in
I was
and
doing
work
what
your
it
way
took.
through. Exactly,
Absolutely.
exactly.
And then over time, society changed a little bit. But then when I ended up working at ad agencies and then in more creative environments, things were different. But I still had to really dig deep in for myself of who am I really? When I am joyful, how do I like to express myself? I've had to go through all of that. And
Mhm.
anyone who is really doing soul work, this is a lifetime thing because you're constantly seeking and wanting to improve yourself. So it's us people who are big on self development. And now I'm not talking about self development junkies, people who, and I talk about this when I work with people, you hit it on the head about first there's awareness, then there's knowing. So once you have the
Mhm.
knowledge, because questions have been asked, you have to do reflections, you do the work because you know what's best for you. So it's up to whoever is your coach, guide, therapist to basically
Yep.
ask the right questions because you have the answers. Once you are aware, really where I find the biggest gap is from knowing to embodying or integrating into your day to day.
Mm.
Because it's okay, you got from point A to point B. Now, how do you continue to make the things that you have discovered and learned in your self? How do you continue that after the program's over,
Yep.
after the session's over? How do you hold yourself accountable? How are you going to continue and maintain? Because if it's not integrated into your day to day, just like anything else, you're going to revert back to old habits, behaviors, patterns. No one's going to have transformation if they don't have not just the tools, the rituals, the practices to help get them from point A to point B, but how do you sustain it over time
Yep.
once you're not in your 12-week program or
Yep.
once you're
Yep.
not in the workshop, everybody's yay as they leave.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
3 weeks later, you go back to the same. That is the part where people who are experts, authority, they have frameworks and they have things in
Yep.
place to help people to bridge from the knowing to
Yep.
the embodying or
Yep.
integration, because that's really at the end where the transformation happens, right?
100%. You have to go through and you have to do the hard work. That's why the self-improvement is the personal development industry is billions and billions of dollars every single year, and they sell millions and millions of books. Is
Right.
because people will go, like you said, the junkies will go from one book and they'll go, "Oh, this is a good idea." And then next, what they're doing is they're accumulating the information and maybe seeing some
Right.
of their own awareness in that, but not going further and creating because it's about, like you said, it's about the awareness part, like the issue, the pain point, and then it's
Right.
about then my second step is it's same thing. It's taking inventory and being accountable for that. That's a
Right.
big step in terms of just being accountable for
Yeah.
being responsible for where you are at in your life. Bad stuff happens to everybody, and I'm not going to minimize that at all, especially terrible
Right.
things, but it's not like you can change it on the timeline. And so, in terms of owning where you're at, you move forward. And then after that, with the framework, you've got to develop a plan. And
Mhm.
then the key, like you said, the number one thing after all of that is said and done, it's about the action. It's about
Mhm.
implementing the plan and making
Yeah.
the changes. And I can't do that for my clients, and you can't do that for your clients, and a book can't do that for anybody.
No.
They have
No.
to take
Sprint. Yeah.
accountability and responsibility and
Right.
implement that into their life. And it, like you said, it is a lifetime gig.
Well, people always
Yeah.
say you have to do the work. That's the work because if things were easy, everybody would be fabulous,
Oh,
thin,
and
wealthy,
enlightened and
be like,
self-realized.
son, he's a minor league baseball player. and he works his butt off. He's
Oh,
22.
yeah.
And people, if they see him walk down the street, oh my God, look, like he just magically looks the way he looks. No, he is in the gym all the time. He is
Yeah.
trading all the time. He can't
Mhm.
go with his friends who are in college, like kick it and drink and do all the things. He can't do any of that. He
Mhm.
is work. And so
Yep.
I think that's the work is the stuff that is uncomfortable for a lot of people. That's why people can't stay on weight loss plans or what, because it's not really about the weight loss plan. It's about you have to change your life. It's not,
Yep.
okay, I'm not going to eat for a period of time and I'm going to
Yep.
exercise. No, it needs to be an integrated thing in your life of how you are moving and what you're putting in your body. So it's the same thing with what we talk about. People need to be willing, ready, and able before any transformation can happen, because you're right. We cannot transform someone. This is why I'm so stuck on really helping women to reconnect and strengthening their inner authority. Because
Yep.
if you have strong inner authority, meaning you trust yourself and you know that you have the answer within you, that only you can be your best authority, and stop giving that power away externally to other people, especially now in the age of social media. Everybody's comparing themselves to people, and
Oh,
it's like, okay,
100%. Yeah.
you are on your path, not on my path. So it doesn't matter what I'm doing. You can
Mhm.
be inspired by me. You can want to be like me. Okay, this woman is successful. I want to accomplish what she's accomplished. But you can only accomplish your greatness, not mine. And a lot of people compare their chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. When
Yep.
you see things on
Yep.
social media and people on stages and they are very inspiring and that's great. They're at their chapter 20. That means they
Mhm.
had 19 chapters before they were where they're at, where you see them. And you're like, why am I not there? They didn't magically, mystically get to where they are, to the success they are, without all of the sacrifices, hard work, the uncomfortableness that it takes in order to get there. So again, the work is doing those things that are uncomfortable, because you know that in order for you to grow in anything, get better in anything, you have to be uncomfortable. If it is too comfortable, if it is too easy, that means you're complacent, and that does not mean you are growing. If I'm really good, then I need to be around people who are better than me so that I can elevate. If I stay the number one person in a group, then I'm not growing. If you're constantly winning in an arena, then that means that it's too easy for you. And that's just in life.
If you're in a place where you're not willing to take the next step and bump your head up against the bubble that you're currently in, then take accountability
Yeah.
for that. No blame
Right.
shifting, no victimization.
If you have a strong inner authority, you will tell people, yes, that's wonderful, that Tony, and I'm very happy for him. But that's not my path. My path, and you're able to articulate your path. You're able to say with conviction, there's
Mhm.
3 pillars that I talk about all the time: intentionality, mindset, and self expression. If you are living intentionally, the choices that you make are intentional, your mindset is shifted to one of a growth mindset or positive mindset. And you see the world through your lens, even when bad things happen, because bad things happen to all people, like you said.
Mhm.
And then how are you expressing yourself authentically? I call it joyful self expression, because I do believe that if you are living a joyful life, if you're living a life in coherence, if you are strong in your inner authority, then the decisions you make, the energy you put out, your boundaries are intact and you're able to be very clear on them and be able to uphold them,
Mhm.
then you are going to live joyfully, because
Mhm.
you understand that only you can determine what success looks like for you, what happiness looks like for you, what peace looks like for you. And some people are not willing, ready, or able. They have to come to you when they are ready. I can't force anyone. What you could do is you can show them through example. You can provide insight and input if they're asking you for that, but they have to ultimately make the decision to move forward. Some people are not ready. People
Oh,
are
some
not
people aren't.
willing.
No.
Some
Exactly.
people just aren't willing. They're like, look, I don't believe in coaching. I don't believe in no, I
Yeah.
got it all
Yeah.
figured out. So you know what? If they've got it all figured out, fine. But like you said, then don't complain. You should be happy. You shouldn't be walking around with this angst or
Right.
anger or negativity. Because if you truly are like, hey, I got this, then you should be leaning positive. You should be joyful, even when bad things happen to you.
And that's why it's so important to do the introspection, the
Mhm.
realization or the understanding of the inner authority. Because listen, expanding and continuing to expand doesn't mean continuing to be more successful or having more stores. That's not what it means. A lot of
Right.
times, expanding has everything to do with realizing really what matters to you and reprioritizing. And I see that so
Exactly.
often with the older women that got to this point and realized that all of the things that they were chasing were ego
Yes.
things or external things that their parents wanted for them or somebody else wanted for
Exactly.
them. Then what I find, which I love, is once they do take their inventory and they realize that, wow, I got it made here. I have everything that I always thought that I didn't want, is if that makes any sense.
Yes. Yes.
And then
No,
they're
totally.
great. And that is a growth mindset. Growth doesn't mean linear growth. Growth means understanding of your
Yes.
inner authority and then living your own life from there.
Usually, when there's that acknowledgement and they recognize and the awareness comes in and they start really reevaluating and reconnecting back with their true identity,
Yeah.
then what happens is they let go of a lot of things.
Yo.
They're letting go of the
Mhm.
things, like you said, they were chasing.
Yep.
They were overextending themselves. They were performing. They were proving. They let that go and they realize exactly what you're saying. Hey, I have it made. I don't need to
Need.
have
Yeah,
more money.
exactly.
I don't need to have the external validation because I already have it in me. And that's where I try to get people to reconnect to their identity through strengthening their inner authority. And a lot of it is asking those types of reflective questions. What is it that lights you up? What is it that you do that brings you so much joy that time just evaporates? And that's for anybody. It could be fixing cars. It could
Yeah.
be cooking. It,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
exactly.
Every human being has something
Yep.
that lights them up, meaning it's not about money, it's not about time. It is literally time evaporates and you're not even thinking about money because you are so in that bliss, and that's how people show their joyful expression, their creativity, all that is what we get to because that is the core of somebody's true identity, not the one that they have
Yep.
incorporated over the years through other external factors, but internally. And then we backward engineer from there. Because
Exactly.
at
Yeah.
the end of the day, no matter what I'm doing now in my life, I will always have the skills that I had being really good as a leader in marketing, in corporate settings. And so there's nothing what I'm not trying to say is that if you are very happy with, hey, I worked really hard and now I'm the CEO of XYZ company, or I'm the senior vice president of da, 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 or I started my own nonprofit and now it's grown.
Mhm.
That is wonderful. And if that is your identity and it's coming from a place that's internal and it's your truth, then you will be able to express that and articulate that to anyone who talks to you. And you'll be showing it because the people who work really hard and have built something that means something to them, you can see that they're joyful. You can see
Mhm.
them light up when they talk about it. They're very
Mhm.
passionate about it. That's usually why people who do social enterprise or do things that build businesses and organizations that actually have an impact on people and communities and what they're so passionate when they talk. Why?
Mhm.
Because it really started usually from the heart. It started from an internal place, from them trusting in their own knowing of this is my purpose, this is my calling, this is what I believe. There's a problem, I'm solving it, or I overcame this adversity and now I want to share with other people that they can get through it because I got through it. I can relate to them. I can resonate. They resonate with me. Those types of stories and people who are able to articulate that, you can feel it when they're talking.
That's what it comes from, is shifting that, and of course, it's
Mhm.
a lot easier to say than do, but once that happens, there's no more comparison because it doesn't matter.
There
Doesn't
isn't,
matter what
right?
anybody
There
does,
isn't,
right? No more.
right?
There's no
There
more
isn't.
and that's I gotta tell you, it's a relief. It's once you get to that point, it's just such a elephant off your
Sure.
back
It's
that
freedom. It's
yeah,
really that's
it is
freedom.
such freedom, and you can tell the energy that comes out, and you can pivot that energy towards the things you really wanted. You towards your family, towards your friends, towards traveling,
Absolutely.
towards whatever, towards fixing cars, whatever you want to do. Melanie, thank you so much. Melanie Shires, and it's positivelymelanie.com, right? That's what the
Yes,
website is.
positivelymelanie.com, and everything that I'm talking about, it's coming from a positive place, which is why I'm Positively Melanie. I do believe that when you are in tune with your inner authority, you will lean positive even when bad things happen to you. It's not about reacting, it's about responding. I do want to say is that I'm really excited because I have started a new series called Living Room Talks, which literally are just free talks that me and other facilitators are going to be having. It's just soulful conversations amongst women where it's a safe space for us to be seen, heard, and felt. I'm going to be kicking it off on June 10th. So it's Wednesday night. So if you go to positivelymelanie.com, then when you see up there, you'll see living room talks and you'll see who's all the topics that are going through until September. And then I also am going to be doing my next inner authority reset experience. It's 90 minutes. And really, it is a guided experience for women who are ready to do exactly what we talked about, to
Mhm.
pause, reconnect with themselves, and strengthen their inner authority to guide their decisions, boundaries, and energy in the right way. It's for $97. I only have room for 12 women. I always do my sessions in a very intimate setting so that
Mhm.
we can go deep and share.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's such
You can
great work. Thank you, Melanie, so much. I really appreciate it. And again, for me, it's either theconfidencedoc.com, and I got all my stuff up there, or you can reach me if you have any questions, you feel like being on the show, you want to have a session, give me a holler on the email. It's Tony at theconfidencedoc.com. Hope things are good, and I will see you next time.